Are you ready to win? You're tuned in with Staar, Pastor Dab, and Gabe for an hour packed with encouragement, strategies, and resources for families with children with special needs. You're not alone on this journey. Stay tuned because you're ready to win.
Ready to win. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Staar,
Pastor Dab, and this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
and we are rejoicing over here. We are so excited. Pastor Dab, or shall I call her Mommy, is about to take Gabriel to the break room because we have a very, very special guest with us today, Miss Erika Bogan. Yay! Erika!
Thank you so much for having me on board today. I'm so excited.
Thank you for being here. We have been trying to get together for some time now, and today God said yes. And so we are so excited to have you here. And we just want the world to know a little bit about you. So could you go ahead and just give them a little bit of information? Who is Erika Bogan?
Absolutely. So I am, we'll start with the logistics. I am a single mother who happens to have a spinal cord injury from domestic violence. This is 15 years ago. I am a former Miss WheelChair America. So I always say I have my story has three parts. It has the bad news, the good news, and then the fun part. And that's my reality in my life now, is the fun part. And all of the amazing opportunities I've been blessed with in life. Miss WheelChair America was just the beginning of them.
Wow, that is so awesome. And I know we are so looking forward to hearing everything that has gone on, well, as much as we can hear within an hour. But we want to just know, what sets you apart from other people?
I think my appreciation for life. And, people see me all the time, and especially because I am in a wheelchair. I'm an everyday wheelchair user. I cannot walk at all. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. And so a lot of times people will see me out and about in the grocery store with my children, and, bless their hearts. They mean the best, but they'll, it's so good that you get out of the house. And I kind of smile and say thank you. And, but in my mind, I know I travel the world by myself.
Wow.
And share my message of beauty and life and forgiveness and everything that's possible that God has in store for us.
Wow, I just love that. I'm telling you, I was listening to some of your podcasts a little earlier, and one of the things that you said was a lot of people think that they're confined to a chair, and you said you just actually sit in it.
Absolutely. So I don't ever even say I'm in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting on a wheelchair. And I got that from one of my friends who also sits on a wheelchair. His name is Aaron Fotheringham. He's very, very well known. He does crazy double backflips off of 80-foot ramps with the Nitro Circus. And he's also, doesn't have the ability to walk. He was born with spina bifida. And I've had many, many people like Aaron have crossed my life and shown me a whole nother perspective, I guess. I think that life is all about perspective, and it's all about how you choose to make it. And I've chosen to make it the best, most beautiful life possible.
That is something, and you truly do live a fulfilled life. I mean, when people see you on Facebook and they see you, and if they follow your journey, they will see that you are doing some amazing, amazing things. I know that we got to meet you on the beach. Yes. Catching some waves.
That's right. I do surf.
Yes, so you surf. I mean, you're doing some awesome things, and I just love how you give back to the community and how you just help in so many different ways. I know when we first met you on the beach, we were taking Gabriel to an event with Board Meetings International.
Yes.
And they had an event for special needs children for them to be able to go surfing. And we were so thrilled to be able to be a part of that event. And we were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing because, I mean, it's all about living that fulfilled life and doing things that other people will say that you can't do.
Absolutely.
And proving them wrong that you can do it. So.
Yeah. And it's not even necessarily proving them wrong, Staar. Sometimes I look at it's just giving them another perspective and changing their perception of what the world tells us we can't do.
That's right.
And what God gives us the power to do.
Wow. That's so amazing. so amazing. And you do that every single day, all the time. Your life is such a shining example of showing the world another perspective.
Thank you.
So we want to just play this first song. This first song is called Overcomer, because Erika is definitely an overcomer. We want you to stay tuned so you can hear more of Erika's story. And while we're waiting for the music to come on, Erika, can you go ahead and tell them maybe a little bit about how you go back into the community and help other children and families that have special needs?
Absolutely. So I actually kind of wear many, many hats. When people ask me what I do for a living, I kind of laugh because I do many things. So my 9-to-5 job, I actually work for a company called Mobility Ventures, and we build a vehicle. It's actually the first in the world that's ever been built from the ground up to be wheelchair accessible. So we like to say it's purpose built. Basically, we took a ramp and we built a car around it, instead of the norm, which is taking a minivan, chopping it in half, and adding a ramp to it. So because it's built from the ground up, we're giving these families with special needs a safe, durable, reliable vehicle to be able to transport their loved ones in. And the coolest part of it is the wheelchair user actually gets to sit shotgun.
Wow.
Which is almost unheard of for people who are in chairs. And so that's what I do for 9 to 5. I travel the country and I market the MV1. And I'm also one of the spokespeople for MV1. So that's my sweet spot. I get to actually be there when we give vehicles donations to families in need that can't afford accessible vehicles.
Wow.
So to be able to give these families the gift of mobility is huge. And I can relate to that from being paraplegic myself and remembering back when I first got hurt and I had no way out of my house.
Wow. And we were talking about that because we had an awesome breakfast this morning and we were sitting there talking. And you said for about 3 years.
Yeah. If not more than that, that I remember just sitting in my house, if my kids got sick, I'm like, how am I going to get them medicine? If we needed groceries, sometimes we went without because I didn't have a way to go to the grocery store. Sometimes my pride got in the way and I didn't want to ask anybody. I didn't want to inconvenience my family. And so I not only work for this company, but I eat, breathe, and sleep it, so to speak, because I know what the gift of mobility through transportation does for somebody's life that has to have an accessible vehicle.
Right. And it does change your life. You guys were also able to be a blessing to one of our families right here in the Jacksonville area. And every single day when they pull up to school and I see the smile on that young man's face, it makes my heart just smile. I just am just so overjoyed with seeing them get out of that beautiful MV1. It's just so cool. And then when we go places and go out on our field trips and everything, people are staring at the MV1. They're like,
what is that?
Exactly. They're like, what kind of truck is that?
Yeah.
And so it is amazing. It's amazing that MV1 is just changing lives and helping people to be able to get around and have that safe and reliable transportation. It's so big on the inside.
Yes.
It's just a perfect vehicle. So
absolutely. And it's such a blessing for our company. And that's one of the things that I like to tell people is, our company not only wants to sell vehicles and be able to give mobility to people, but we also want to be able to bless other families that are in need.
Right.
And so I couldn't be more blessed myself to be a part of such an amazing company that really, really cares about its end users. It's not just about money and selling vehicles. It's about changing people's lives.
That's it. And that's what it's always about. It's about changing people's lives. Now, how have you used your platform as Miss Wheelchair of America in 2010 to change people's lives?
So my platform actually was anything's possible.
Wow.
And I live by Matthew 19:26, which is with God, all things are possible.
Yes.
And I used that as my platform, and I used not just speaking about it, but showing people the things that I do that most people wouldn't think somebody with a disability would be able to do.
Wow.
And be able to prove that that small verse in the Bible is so true in so many ways.
Oh my gosh. And it
I'm
comes
living
alive.
proof.
It comes alive, and we're living the word out day in and day out, and we really are overcomers. So you guys stay tuned so you can hear more of Miss Erika Bogan's story.
I made it through. I'm victorious. What about you? I'm an overcomer. I made it through. I'm victorious. What about you? Might have had a hard year and lost all you had. Might have lost a loved one and it left you feeling sad, but you're still trusting and depending on God's unchanging power. And there's one thing you can say for sure: you're an overcomer. I'm an overcomer. I made it through. I'm victorious. What about you? I'm an overcomer. I made it. All you've been through, you're still here to tell your story. People turn their backs on you, but there's no need to worry. That's why you should never judge a book by its cover. When you're looking at me, you see an overcomer. I'm an overcomer. I made it through. What about you? I'm an overcomer. So glad that I made it through. I'm victorious. Oh, what about you? One thing in life we share. We all have to go through something. But God promises in His word He'll never leave you. He's always there. I'm victorious. I'm victorious. Yeah. I'm an overcomer. I think I made it through. I'm victorious. If you are, let me hear you say. If you overcame your past, say. If you have the victory, say. Yeah. If you made it, say. Yes, I'm an overcomer. I'm an overcomer. I made it through. I'm victorious. What about you? I'm an overcomer. So glad that I made it through. I'm victorious. Oh, what about you?
All right, you guys, that was Overcomer by Staar Fields. And we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Today we have our special guest, Miss Erika Bogan.
Hi.
Hey, Erika.
So glad to be here.
So glad to have you, girl. So glad to have her. When I first met Erika, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's a breath of fresh air. Just a beautiful person inside and out. And I'm just
Thank
so
you.
thankful that we were able to take some time today and that she was able to even come in on Ready to Win and show you guys how she is winning. And so I'm excited. We want to talk a little bit about some of the stigmas that you face day in and day out. And I think a lot of us face.
Absolutely. So, being a young woman in a wheelchair, so I was just actually talking about this the other day about, I pull into an accessible parking spot and I'm driving my MV1 and I appear as if I'm able-bodied. There's nothing wrong. I'm sitting in, there is anything wrong because there's not, but I'm sitting in a regular driver seat, and I get dirty looks automatically when I put my accessible parking placard in my window. Because I know people are like, oh yeah, she's using her grandmother's accessible parking thing to get a closer spot. Well, and then they see me transfer into my wheelchair and put my ramp out and roll down the ramp, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, eat those words.
And so right then, that sets the standard for the stigma that's kind of attached to living life with a disability. And, a lot of people tend to think that because you're in a wheelchair, that's a negative thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so sorry. Right. And especially with me being injured because of domestic violence, as soon as somebody asks me, like, and this is the worst thing you can ever say to somebody in a wheelchair, but what happened to you? Trust me, I get it more than you think.
Wow.
And, I just smile and I say, well, I was in a car accident and I'm a paraplegic. And, being able to, let me start over. So then I go into the grocery store, right? Mm-hmm. And the cute little old lady comes over and pats me on the head and says, oh, it's so good you get out of the house. Mm-hmm. Not realizing and not knowing that I traveled the world by myself.
Wow.
And, I'm a national disability advocate. And so I'm able to share my life, even if it's just for 5 minutes. With that person, and hopefully the next time they come in contact with a person in a wheelchair, they'll look at them a different way. Mm-hmm. When people find out that I travel by myself, they're like, well, do you have somebody travel, do you have an attendant that helps you on and off the plane? And no, I don't. I do it by myself. I truly believe that God doesn't give us anything that we can't handle. And one of the biggest obstacles for me is proving to other people that being in a wheelchair is not negative.
Wow.
It's all about your perception and your perspective and how you choose to communicate that to the world. And I look at my injury and being in a wheelchair in my life as being one of the biggest blessings that could have ever happened to me, just because it's awakened me, it's enlightened me to a whole nother world that I would have never thought of. I'm able to actually use something that most people perceive as a tragedy, which is me losing my ability to walk. I'm able to use that to turn it into something positive and amazing, to be able to show people that, I'm living my purpose on this earth, and that is to touch other people's lives and to give them a different perception, a different perspective about people with disabilities.
Wow. And that's what we do every single day.
Yes.
And it feels so good when you're able to live out your purpose and you're able to let people see God moving in your life in such a powerful, powerful way, and still be able to keep that smile on your face and not be murmuring and complaining. And I totally feel you with the, pulling up into the parking spot, because we do that all the time. We have the placard as well. Mm-hmm. And when we pull up in the parking spot, people see me get out the car, then they might see my mom get out the car, and then they see Gabriel get out the car, and they're like, well, wait a minute, who needs this?
You guys are all walking.
Y'all all walking.
Yeah.
And, and then we're like, oh, trust me, we really, really do need this, because we have to have that close parking space in case he darts off or darts across the street, to try to always be as close to the store or the location as possible. So I can understand. I mean, even we went on a field trip last week, and the attendant, when we were pulling in, he asked, well, who's handicapped in the car? Who's got the disability in the car? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe he asked us that question.
So I actually I'm glad you brought that up. So I was, last weekend, I went to St. Augustine when I was here visiting.
That's where we were too.
And down St. George Street, and I pull into the parking garage. And
that's where we were too.
So I have my placard, which you get to park for free.
Yes.
Which, props to St. Augustine for that, or I don't know if it's just the state of Florida, but it's a pretty amazing thing.
It is amazing.
And, the first thing that the lady asked me at the booth was, well, do you have a wheelchair? And of course, my wheelchair is sitting right next to me, but I'm thinking for somebody like you and your family,
Yes.
Gabe doesn't have a wheelchair.
Yes.
And so a wheelchair doesn't necessarily define a disability.
Exactly.
You don't have to have a wheelchair to need the accessible parking space. And I could totally relate to that. I have a brother who we've talked about before who also has autism. He's nonverbal. He's pretty high functioning. But he, my parents have the same thing for Ian, for him.
Yes.
And it's for him, it's a little bit different. He doesn't dart out in front of traffic or nothing like our little Gabe does.
Yes.
But for Ian, if he has a meltdown, he can harm himself. He can harm other people, and not intentionally. He has no control over it. And so when that happens, they have to be able to get him out of there as fast as possible and into the vehicle, especially so he doesn't hurt himself.
Right.
He can throw himself on the ground and bust his head open.
Right.
And so people don't understand that. And I know my parents get dirty looks a lot too, because he appears as if there's nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong.
And, so I think that we're all put here, you guys and Gabriel and my brother Ian and myself, we're put here to change perspectives and change perceptions. As I was saying before and sharing a little bit of my story, and I also think that people, and I don't know if you come in contact with this at all with Gabe, but people are like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
As if it's something to be sad about. And no, and absolutely not. I remember the first time I met Gabe and I went to hug him and he grabbed me and laid a big old slobbery kiss on my cheek. And that was like the best thing that could have happened to me that month, was him actually just grabbing me and giving me that kiss and showing me his form of affection. It meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes, people need to stop and they need to think a second, like, wait a minute, it's okay to be different.
It is okay to be different. And we can't forever forget that. It's not a tragedy to be different, even though people will make you feel like that sometimes. And I remember, you said people will come up and say, well, what happened to you?
Yeah.
And they'll come up to me and they say, well, what's wrong with them?
Yeah.
That's what they'll ask me.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with them?
Right. Have you ever had, encountered, and I am sure that there's probably some listeners that can relate to this, but when you're out and he has a meltdown, he's having a bad day, and they're looking at you like, why can't you control your child?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, we used to encounter that all the time with, my parents and my brother, and it's like, you just have to learn to ignore it and to hope that if you do tell them, like my son has autism, that next time they see something like that happening, maybe they'll come over and say, how can I help you?
Right.
Is there something I can do?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Soften people's hearts.
It does. And sometimes on this journey, every now and again, you'll meet people that are understanding. They're loving.
Yes.
They're kind. They'll try to give you a piece of candy. So, you know what I mean? They'll try to give you a blanket. Well, what does he need? Does he want to sit here? Where's his toy? I mean, what is it that you know? And so sometimes when you meet those people, that makes it like, wow, they get it.
Absolutely.
And I think we all just want somebody to understand. It's like, I always hear that one quote that, the thing that people want most in this life is to be understood.
Absolutely.
And I think that's
and accepted, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Accepted. Yeah.
Accepted just the way that God made us.
Yeah.
And I commend you and even people like me that are in wheelchairs for us going out and in the public and not keeping Gabe at home, me not staying at home, me going out and traveling the world, because in doing that, we're giving people another perspective.
Right.
We're changing those perceptions. We're breaking those stigmas down that are placed on people with different abilities. I like to say different abilities. I absolutely despise the word handicap and I despise the word disability, even though I do use it sometimes just out of habit, but different abilities, because there's nothing dis about us. There's nothing that we can't do. We just do things different.
It's different.
It's just different.
It's different, a little different, and that's what we are, just a little different.
Yeah.
And I always love to say that we're giving people hope.
Absolutely.
We're giving people hope every single place we go. Every time we work a little bit harder to get out the house, we just do that little extra. We always have to do that little extra, but it's so worth it, because, you see that family that's watching, that's sitting right there next to you, that said, you know what, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And I think that people need to know that they're not alone.
Well, and when I meet, other people, whether they're in chairs or they know somebody that's in chair, or, somehow a different ability has affected their life, one of the things that I like to share with them when they say, I'm so sorry, especially with the way that I was injured, I say, well, don't be sorry, because my life is beautiful now. Mm-hmm. And I've chosen to make it that way. People ask all the time, especially with, new science and research with spinal cord injuries and stem cells. And, well, if there was ever a cure for paralysis, for spinal cord injury, would you want to walk again? And to be totally honest, I tell them no. And I'm being very genuine and authentic when I say no. And only because I know that God has put me in the place that he wanted me, to serve his purpose and to show other people, a different perspective on life. Would I take anything that I've gone through back? Absolutely not. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have had the opportunities and cross paths with some of the most vivacious, beautiful people that I've ever met. You and your family being, some of them. Aww. Just being able to go out in the world and change perspectives.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And you have definitely done that. You have changed my perspective, from the first day that I met you on that beach and we watched you catch those waves and you showed me.
I used to say, if I could change one person's life, Staar, I would do it all over again in a minute.
Wow. And that says so much. It says so much. So you guys, you can stay tuned in. We're going to take our commercial break here, but we want you guys to stay tuned in with this awesome interview with Miss Erika Bogan. She is phenomenal, you guys. She has a powerful story, a life-changing story. So you're not going to want to miss it. So stay tuned with Miss Erika Bogan, Miss Wheelchair of America 2010, but there's so much more to her story than that. I mean, she just does so many things in and about our community. She travels the world. She's from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And so she just does so much to help people, to be a blessing to people, and to give people hope. So we're just so thankful that you took a few minutes to stop by here with Ready to Win today and to share your story with us and all of our listeners out there.
It's truly an honor. Thank you, Staar.
Thank you. And we hope if you guys have any families or friends that that might not be confined to a wheelchair, but sitting on a wheelchair, make sure you give them a call and let them know to tune in to Ready to Win 91.7 or ilovethetruth.com. Stay tuned.
WTRJ-FM, Orange Park, Jacksonville. WAYL, St. Augustine. WATY, Folkestone. Listener supported. The Truth.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump is accusing former President Obama of having his telephone lines tapped last year. In fact, he tweeted out today, quote, just found out about the wiretapping, which he says occurred back in October. Supporters of President Trump plan to convene at Trump Tower and the Washington Monument, as well as scores of other places around the country today, to show their pride in his presidency so far. The March for Trump demonstrations also intended to show unity in the face of what the organizers are calling a seditious fringe aiming to sabotage, his vision for the country. Meanwhile, the president hitting back at Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, who wants Attorney General Jeff Sessions to resign from meeting with Russian officials.
During a Friday morning interview, Pelosi said she had never met with the envoy, but a photo has emerged from a 2010 meeting that she had with Russia's president and other officials, including Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. President Trump took to Twitter calling for an investigation of Pelosi for her close ties to Russia and lying about it.
That is White House correspondent Greg Clugston reporting. President Trump is praising Florida Catholic school as a kind of school that disadvantaged children should be able to select.
Education is the civil rights issue of our time.
Repeating a theme he made in his address to a joint session of Congress, the FCC plans to take up a proposal to crack down on robocalls.
The plan is to crack down on robocalls from fraudulent numbers. Under the plan, phone service providers could block calls from these so-called spoofed numbers, which disguise the actual source of some robocalls. The FCC chairman released a statement that reads, "The American people have long made it clear And industry, consumer groups, and government are unified behind them, that they want the unwanted robocalls to stop.
That is correspondent Linda Kenyon on Capitol Hill. On Wall Street yesterday, the Dow was up 3 points. This is SRN News.
Now to Jacksonville weekend weather. Partly sunny and breezy afternoon, highs in the 60s. This night cloudy, lows of 52. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, again breezy day, afternoon highs near 70. Cloudy, breezy for Monday, high 74. And the outlook for Tuesday, mostly sunny skies and again on the breezy side with temperatures reaching 80 degrees.
All right, you guys. Well, we thank you so much for listening. You're tuned in to Ready to Win. And today we have Miss Erika Bogan. And we're so excited. She's just sharing so much of her story and her life with us and just showing us that all things are possible. And so we're just excited to have her on. And Erika,
thank you.
We were talking a little bit about the walkers. In the wheelers. So tell us a little bit about that.
So it's kind of a joke with a lot of us wheelers. So wheelers meaning people who use wheelchairs. We say you guys are walkers and we're wheelers. And so I have one of my best friends, actually, Jessie Strachem. She has only been injured for 2 years, but she is slowly but yet rapidly becoming a disability advocate as well as I am. She actually was Miss Wheelchair North Carolina last year, USA.
Wow.
There's a USA program and there's an America program. So Miss Wheelchair America and Miss Wheelchair USA. This year, actually, she's running in the America program.
Oh, wow.
But when I first met Jessie, she was very newly injured. Like I said, she's still only 2 years post. We started doing a lot of things together. She lives very close to where I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And when we go places in my MV1, it's just me and her by ourselves. And so every once in a while, there'll be something where we're like, how are we going to do this? Whether it's, tying her down in her chair securely in the vehicle or, putting my chair behind the driver's seat so that it's not rocking and rolling all of the vehicle as we're driving. We always joke around. We're like, where are the walkers when we need them? We can't leave home without you guys.
Wow.
But it is again, we're talking so much about changing perceptions. And so when people see her and I out together and they see two girls independently getting out of the same vehicle, both of us in wheelchairs, you wouldn't believe the people's jaws just drop,
Wow.
Oh my gosh, how do you guys do this? This is awesome.
It is awesome.
But to us, we're just living our life.
Everyday
this is
life.
Our everyday life,
Yes.
and for a very long time, it was very humbling when I would be out and about and traveling, people with, like I said, little old lady that's like, oh, it's so good you get out of the house,
Yeah.
and, people see me traveling and by myself and you're such an inspiration, I think about you every day when I don't want to get out of bed. And, I get real with them and I explain to them that there's days I don't want to get out of bed. There are days that I hate my disability. Mm-hmm. There are days I despise my wheelchair. There are days I get angry. But then I have to really quickly remember all of the opportunities I've been blessed with, all of the amazing people I've crossed paths with, all of the thousands of people's lives that I've been able to change because of my disability. Wow. And that's how I'm able to turn it back into something positive and be able to give thanks to God again.
Amen. For
this life that He has given me, or that He allowed me to have, I should say. I know especially, and you could probably relate to this a little bit with having a child that was born with a disability. Mm-hmm. I acquired my disability. And I was very angry for a long time. I was not always the person that you know today. Mm-hmm. I was angry at God. Why? Why did you allow this to happen to me? And I remember seeing my family struggle with it. And even as I started to embrace my life, I would try to make it easier and better for them.
Wow.
I was still inside. I was really mourning. I was struggling the life that I used to live.
Right.
And I had to learn to let go of that life and to embrace the one that I'm now living.
Wow.
Because again, I truly believe this is my purpose.
Wow.
But I like to share with other people, and especially with people who have children that are born with disabilities. It's not a tragedy.
It's not a tragedy. It's a triumph.
It's a triumph.
It is.
Because you are teaching other people about differences, about embracing each other, no matter what differences may separate you. It's about educating. The more people we educate, you never know who you are touching. Everybody knows somebody that's affected by disability,
right?
Whether it's acquired disability or it's a disability from birth,
right?
Everybody knows somebody, and everybody can somehow relate. Whether it's they've seen a friend struggle with their child that was born with Down syndrome, or they see their family member, their loved one struggle that was born with cerebral palsy and lives with debilitating spasms.
Right.
Can't feed themselves, but are cognitively perfectly fine.
Wow. Yeah.
But can't get out a sentence. You know, I have a whole sisterhood of women, strong, vivacious women, through the Miss Wheelchair America program that I'm so blessed with. And one of them, actually, Alette Coble, she was born with cerebral palsy, and she speaks a lot slower, and it's a lot harder for her to articulate. Sometimes she's hard to understand if you don't know her. She is one of the most accomplished human beings I've ever met on this planet.
Wow.
Not only was she born with all of the odds against her, but she has made the most beautiful, accomplished life of anybody that I know.
Wow.
And not just anybody that I know with a disability, anybody that I know, period, whether they're a walker or a wheeler. This woman has her PhD, her doctorate in psychology.
Wow.
She helps run and facilitate a psychology program. And I may be getting some of this a little bit wrong or using the wrong terminology, so I apologize if I do. But she works for the Department of Corrections in the state of California.
Wow.
The whole state of California. And so when people get up and they see her in public, they're like, there's no way. Like, oh, poor her. You know, especially when they can't understand what she's saying. But then when we start talking, or she starts talking and explains that she's got a doctorate in psychology.
Wow.
How many people do you know that are walking around today that have that kind of education and those big, huge accomplishments?
Those are huge.
Without the adversity that she's faced.
Right. That's amazing.
That right there is another example of how we live our lives, and how you never know whose life you're touching, even with Gabriel.
Yeah, and it just makes you stop making excuses.
Absolutely.
Stop making excuses and get it done. Do it now. Do it now. And there, tomorrow's not promised. I mean, you just said so many different things. I mean, I want to go back to when you were talking about you and your friend up in North Carolina getting in and out of your van, and the people can see that, and it's powerful to go out with other people. I know we try to do that in the community as well, to be with other people. And I think it really helps them to be able to see their strength in numbers, and for them to be able to see, hey, guess what? You guys can do anything if you don't give up, if you put your mind to it.
Yes.
And then I love what
and wake up and be ready to win.
Yes, that's right. Be ready to win. Woo! Woo! But it's just so powerful that the strength in numbers, and then not letting anything stop you. And I love that. They don't expect to see that lady coming out with her PhD and the doctor, the doctors in psychology,
pushing herself in her power wheelchair.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing. And this is still talking about Alette. She's also a parent. She has a daughter.
Wow.
She had to fight the state of California to be able to get the rights to adopt her child, because she couldn't naturally have any children. But she wanted nothing more than to be able to be a mother. And, I get that a lot too with being a single mom with 3 daughters. I can't even imagine, like, how do you do this? Well, how do you take care of your kids? I do it just like you do, just different.
Wow.
You know, we find a way. Like my kids are absolutely amazing. Actually, so funny. Last night we're out and about shopping. We're bargain sailing because that's what we do.
Yes.
And we're shopaholics. And my daughter grabs me and is just holding me and is like, you know, she can't imagine life without each other. And she's 13 years old, you know, and she was born actually after I was paralyzed.
Wow.
So she's never known any different but having a mommy in a chair. So to her, she was the popular kid in elementary school because her mom was Miss Wheelchair America. You know, I remember asking her one time, you know, growing up, did it bother you that you had a mom in a chair? You had a mom that was different from everybody else. And she's like, are you kidding me, Mom? Like, no, like you made me popular. Like all the kids loved you, you know, I used to go and I'd speak to the schools with my crown on and they just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And, but she was just hugging me last night and like, we can't imagine life without each other, even though we have ups and downs, just like everybody else. You know, we're in the teenage years right now. So we have our battles, as I'm sure that you guys can understand, anybody with teenagers listening in, you know, but at the end of the day, she has told me that I've helped her become a better person.
Wow.
Because she has seen me struggle and I've had to depend on her. And so there was times when I carried a lot of guilt. You know, my child at 7, 8 years old, she was having to do things for me, climb on counters to reach stuff. My house is not accessible whatsoever. Still to this day, it's not accessible.
Wow.
And people would say, you know, why don't you get your house modified? Well, at the time, it was a financial reason. I couldn't afford to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can afford to, but why would I do that when that would take all the challenge out of life? Like, that's the fun. It's like putting a puzzle together. Okay,
Right, great
how
attitude.
can I overcome this barrier?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but at one point in time, you know, and still today, there are days where I am dependent on my kids. And I used to feel guilty about that until my kids, and my youngest is only 10, so she hasn't got to this place yet. But my two teenagers, who are 17 and 13, you know, they have both told me in different ways how thankful they are that I do have a disability, because I have been able to enlighten them and give them a different perspective on life and give them the drive and the motivation to go out there and grab every one of their dreams and shoot for the stars.
Oh my
Because they've
gosh.
seen where I came from, where we came from, where we couldn't even get to the grocery store at one point in time. You know, we couldn't get to the doctors when they were sick, to where we are now.
Wow.
And that is, you know, traveling the world together and sharing our story of overcoming and of God's love.
And as a family.
As a family.
And I love that. I love hearing that, you know, because your kids learn so much, not from what you say, but from how you live, what they see you do day in and day out. And what an example.
And I think that my family as well.
Yes.
You know, my aunt was talking the other night about how to this day, it still bothers her that I've had to go through these struggles. But then she sees me overcoming them and taking them head on. Like, I look for struggles because I look for that environmental barrier that's in front of me. So there's a curb and no curb cut for me to get up on there. I find a way, even if it's asking a stranger, hey, will you grab my hand and pull me?
Wow.
And that's huge, because how many of us want to ask a stranger for help? Most of us wouldn't do that. But you never know, me asking for that stranger's hand, what it just did for their life. Not just did they allow me to have the accessibility I need to get to where I wanted to go, but I could have just given them a gift and made them have a purpose for that moment.
Wow, Erika, you are sharing some deep nuggets right from your heart. Oh my goodness, you guys. I am just like so thrilled to have her on the show today.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yes, I'm telling you, we are just so excited to have you here on Ready to Win. And we're going to give her just a little breather here so she can drink a drink of water. And we're going to play one more song called I Can't Save the World.
Can't save the world, but I'll try to be a good example and to let my light shine. Doing right by others and treat my neighbors kind. Oh, I can't save the world, but I'll try. And I don't know why this big world is full of evil when we should be loving people. And I don't know why people will not help the neighbors when that's exactly what we're made for. I can't save the world, but I'll try to be a good example and to let my light shine. Doing right by others and treat my neighbors kind. Oh, I can't save the world, but I'll try. And I don't know why, when we're more alike than different, yet there's so much division. And I don't know why we won't love in spite of race, turn to peace instead of hate. I'll try to do the very best in everything I do. I'll try to go the extra mile and lend a helping hand to you. I'll try to never criticize until I walk a mile in your shoes. Oh, I can't save the world, but I'll try. I can't save the world, but I'll try to be a good example and to let my light shine. Doing right by others and treat my neighbors kind. Oh, I can't save the world, but I'll try. I can't save the world, but I'll try. I can't save the world, but I'll try.
All right, you guys, that's I Can't Save the World by Staar Fields. It's going to be on my new CD, and you guys are just getting to get a sneak peek of some of this new music that we're coming out with, positive music with a message as we continue on our journey. And we're just so excited that along this journey, we get to meet some great people like Miss Erika Bogan, who's with us today on our show, Miss Wheelchair of America 2010, but so much more than that. And so we're just excited again to have you. And time flies when we're having fun. I can't believe we only have like 10 minutes left. I just can't believe where all the time went.
Seems like we just started this, Star.
I know. So I don't know, what do you want to share with the people? We have about 8-9 minutes left of our show, and we want to make sure that anything that's on your heart that you want to maybe give to parents that have children, and maybe parents that have children with special needs that may be in chairs, maybe that are in chairs from birth or in chairs after. You have some tips or ideas or anything that you would like to share with them?
One of the biggest things, and I go back to Matthew 19:26, with God, all things are possible.
Yes.
And I truly believe He knew us. He knew us before we were born. He already had a plan and a purpose for us. And don't hold your child back. I have seen it so many, especially, Life Rolls On events, which are big surfing events where we take children out and that were born with different abilities. Actually, not just children, adults too, with different abilities. We throw them in the ocean, not throw them in the ocean, but we put them on a surfboard, and we help them surf. And I see parents with their children, and they're so nervous. But then when they see the smile on their kids' faces as they're riding their very first wave in, and maybe when that child was born, the parent never even thought that their child would ever even be able to go in the ocean, much less on a surfboard.
Right.
And this is just one example of ability and of anything is possible is surfing. There's all kinds of other things, traveling, you name it. Don't limit your child. Don't limit yourself. If you're somebody with a disability that's listening in today, don't limit yourself anymore. Don't stay in your house. Get out. If you can't drive independently, there's other ways to do things. Maybe it's a friend down the road. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's a family member. You never know how you asking them and reaching out, how you're blessing their life. And then in turn, you're also being blessed. There's public transportation systems. You can ride the city bus. I remember having to do that many, many times, having to get on, they have these special vans in the county that I live in that would come pick me up and take me to doctor's appointments. And at one point in time, my pride would get in the way, and I would skip going out and going to the grocery store because I didn't want to get on that van. I didn't want people to look at me any different or as if there was something wrong. And I look back now and I'm like, what was I thinking? These people would see me get off of this public transportation bus and go in there and get my groceries by myself. And it would empower them to get out of bed the next day when they didn't feel good or they didn't want to go to work. So don't ever limit yourself. Don't limit your loved ones that are living with different abilities. Anything's possible.
That is so true, Erika. And, I think, what you said for the parents too, not to limit their kids, because I said it last week or the week before. I don't want to be so much in a box that I keep Gabriel in a box. And
the world needs to see Gabriel.
Yeah, and that's why we have our living your life outside the box. I mean, we really, really try to live our life outside the box. And there's no normalcy around here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so, but
what is normal?
Yeah, I don't even know anymore.
Your normal is different than my normal.
Exactly.
Alan's normal is different than our normal.
Right, Alan?
It's all different, but that's what makes it so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
We're all unique, and we all have something to give this world. We all have a light to shine and make this world a brighter place.
And we can't be scared, because I know sometimes when we went surfing for the first time,
I was so proud of you.
I was a nervous wreck. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. And the first time I was going to take Gabriel surfing, they had this like breaking news. There is a lot of sharks in the Jacksonville beach.
Hey, we like them.
I was like, the devil is a liar. We ain't getting out in that ocean. So we did not go surfing.
That's when you say, not today.
I say, not today. We did not go today, okay? We said, cancel. Gabriel ain't going surfing, okay?
Right.
We don't know how to swim like that. But I was so just thankful for Board Meeting Internationals and them giving back to help special needs families with the surfing. I mean,
Well, the beautiful thing about that, not to interrupt you, is that Board Meetings isn't even about special needs families. We bring you guys in to change our participants' world that are totally able-bodied. So it's parent-child couples. For the listeners that are listening that have never heard of Board Meetings International, it's actually for parent-child couples that most of them are entrepreneurs. And we just have the third day, which is when we brought Staar in and Gabriel. And the third day is to teach these children about conscious contribution and how to give back and how to give the gift of service to others. And so you guys felt so blessed to be there, and for us giving you the opportunity to get Gabriel in the water and to get you and your mom in the water.
Right.
But actually you were there to bless these children and to show them that anything's possible and that it's okay to help.
Wow.
It's okay to approach somebody that's in a wheelchair or to somebody who might not communicate the way that they do, that it's okay.
And we felt okay. We felt okay to be in such a loving environment and we felt totally comfortable and accepted, and we just had a beautiful time with you guys out there for that weekend. we felt okay and we felt safe because we're like, wow, I don't know if I would have done that in a big, huge environment, but because we were with a small environment, in a small group, I felt totally safe, and I trusted you guys with my kid out in the big ocean.
Yes, and he had a blast.
And he had a blast, and I still have the video of him surfing, and it was just so beautiful. So, I mean, you've got to get out in the community.
You don't know who you're blessing, and you don't know who is going to bless you.
That's right.
But you have to get out. You have to live life. God didn't give us this life to sit behind four walls. He gave us this life to be able to go out and experience love and kindness and even pain and sorrow and all of the emotions that come together for one big, beautiful purpose. And that's life.
That's life.
Life.
And it's love. And we're just so happy. So happy. So any other final words that you want to leave with for the parents, for the parents, or even for the children or the adults that might be listening?
Embrace each other, embrace differences, reach out, network. You never know, sharing your story, whose life you're going to touch. You never know what resources may be out there to help your child to reach their full potential. Just don't hold them back. I can't say that enough.
Wow.
Don't limit them. Live a limitless life.
Amen. Live a limitless life.
Limitless.
All right. And how can they get in touch with you? You've been such an inspiration for us here today on Ready to Win. How can people contact Erika if they have questions or if they want to follow you on your journey? How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I am on Facebook. It's Erika Bogan, Erika Bogan. You can also put in the search bar Miss Wheelchair America 2010 and find me right there on social media. All of my social media handles are connected to my Facebook. Also can reach me via email, Erika, Erika.Bogan, Bogan @gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Miss Erika Bogan, for being on our show today. This is Staar Fields, Pastor Dab, and Gabe Baby with Miss Erika Bogan, and we are ready to win. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Bye now.
You've been listening to Ready to Win, turning disabilities into unique abilities. An empowered hour to help you and your child with special needs. You're encouraged to get involved in our local special needs community. Learn more at giveawayfoundation.org. That's giveawayfoundation.org. And remember, you're always equipped to win.